I've been designing for about 15 years, but I think that I just made my favorite prototype ever. So I'm going to give you a little behind the scenes in this video. And for context, I'm working on this new feature for in-flight where you can get focused feedback from people using lightweight polls and these little animated vibe checks that are currently still placeholders. And I wanted to try something totally different with how I prototyped. So instead of doing it in Figma, I decided to prototype with Claude Code. But before we get into all of the details, I think it's important to understand why I chose Claude Code, because this is a decision that I see a lot of designers faced with. And I kind of think about it in three high-level buckets. The first is more of a traditional prototype, slinging vector rectangles in Figma. For this prototype, it's a lot about typing text, which means you're really going to hit a ceiling pretty quickly in Figma. So I knew right away that I didn't want to go that route. The next bucket is full of these prototyping tools like Lovable, Figma Make, V0, and these can be great for more green pasture explorations, and I use them all the time. But in this case, I'm creating an iteration of what is already in production. So I didn't want to spend a lot of time recreating prod in this isolated prototyping environment. So that didn't really make sense to me. And as a result, I wanted to figure out the best way to create my own playground for exploration based off of what was already in the production code base. But because I hadn't really done this before, the best place to start is in planning mode. So I spin up Claude inside of the Warp terminal, which has pretty quickly become my default stack. And then all you have to do is hit Shift Tab. And then I'm a big fan of using Super Whisper so that I can just dump my thoughts with voice and let Claude help me figure out the right path to take. So I basically said, hey, I want to duplicate this part of production. I want to strip away everything except for just this feedback panel, which I think is an important aside because it's tempting as a designer when prototyping in code to want to recreate production exactly. But you got to ask yourself, what's the goal of this prototype? And for me, I only cared about exploring this one feedback panel component. Everything else can be deleted. I didn't want any header functionality. I didn't want any canvas functionality. I just wanted Claude to help me create a playground where I could experiment with versions of what this panel component could become and all of the little subcomponents and interactions inside of it. And I specifically told Claude that I wanted to be able to easily duplicate versions to preserve a history of all of my explorations, kind of similar to how you would hit Command D in Figma. So I told it at any point, I want to say, create a new version and have it automatically do the following. The first is duplicate all of my components so that changes in that new version don't impact previous versions. The second is I want to add a new version to my little meta navigation up top. That way I can easily save and compare different ideas. And I even have Claude automatically generate tooltip text for me to be able to see at a glance what was behind each version. Because once I got to like V5, it started to get kind of confusing. And so I just one-shotted a prompt and then it baked it into the system instructions moving forward. It took me about 10 minutes to set up the core playground, but once I got that foundation laid, I was able to explore ideas really quickly. Real quick message, and then we can jump back into it. Fun fact for you, I'm right on the cusp of the top 1% of granola users. So when I say I cannot get enough of this product, I mean it. It is that good. But after seeing their end-of-year crunch report, I have even more respect for this product. I never have a conversation about design without grunting granola, and somehow it perfectly organizes all of it for me, whether it's chatting with guests for Dive Club or doing user research or keeping track of tasks for in-flight. And then Crunched gave me this beautiful synopsis of all of the key themes and even some funny moments from the past year. It's just a good product. So if somehow you're not already using granola, head to dive.club/granola to spin it up for your next meeting. So Lovable just had another big time release. You can now build and customize online stores powered by Shopify and Lovable. And Earlier in my career, I was really into Shopify, but I always felt limited by their templates and was super intimidated by doing anything too custom. But now you can go from idea to storefront to selling in just a few minutes. It's a big deal for the future of commerce. So if you've ever wanted to build an online store, now is the time. Just head to dive.club/lovable to get started. Okay, now on to the episode. But the problem with vibe coding, at least in my experience, is it's kind of hard to get into a flow state because you speak a prompt and then you have to wait 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 minutes for Claude to execute on your direction. And so the entire experience kind of feels a bit choppy sometimes, and it's easy for me to get distracted. 1 minute I'm prompting, the next I'm in my DMs on Twitter or something like that. So here's what I've started doing instead. I have 2 streams of work going at all times. The first is whatever tweaks or improvements that I'm trying to make to my prototype with Claude. And the second can be a little bit more researchy, or maybe I'm gathering inspiration, or maybe exploring random visual ideas in Figma. I'm basically gathering context to set up my future prompts. So for this prototype, I had my localhost running in one window, and then in a separate window, I opened up Mobbin, and I was just looking through all kinds of different UI patterns for polls and scrolling through a bunch of different consumer social apps for inspiration. And then when I found something I liked, I just copied it to my clipboard for later. Eventually, I had a pretty good idea at the direction that I would want to take, and I just pasted all of those images into a Figma canvas so that I could easily evaluate them side by side. I kind of landed on a pattern that I wanted to use at least as a starting point for this results view. So I grabbed that screenshot, I dropped it into Claude, and I said, hey, start here for the scaffold, but lose the badge, lose the X icon, and obviously use our color tokens. And from that simple prompt, I'm able to get decent looking, fully interactive poll prototype that I can start iterating on. I never actually designed these components in Figma. It was just this back and forth process of playing with the prototype, making a tweak, feeling it out, making another tweak. Maybe then I would duplicate the version to try out something totally different, realize that sucks, try something else, feel it out more, make another tweak. And because of my playground environment, I'm able to run these loops really quickly. And that process works so well because for this type of prototype, it's all about the interaction design, right? The UI itself is very, very, very simple. And what's important is how it feels. And so half the time that I'm designing, I'm just playing with my prototype on my laptop and asking myself questions like, how this hover state should behave, or what happens if this question text is too long? How do I clear this input? Those kinds of questions help me sweat certain details, like how the text fades below this X in the hover state. But the more I play with it, pretty soon I realize, the X should disappear when the input is focused, so it's out of the way. And those are the kinds of design details that are kind of difficult to see if you're not working with a fully functional prototype. Or another example is at some point I'm typing in an option and I realize, I just want to be able to hit tab to jump to the next option. And that put me down an entirely different rabbit hole where I was trying to figure out, how can I make this poll by relying entirely on keyboard shortcuts? And I don't think that logic would have been included in a traditional handoff because I just wouldn't have seen that level of detail. So when you're playing with code and you're constantly clicking around these fully functional prototypes, the depth and the richness of the artifact that you are then handing off, I find is much, much higher quality. Hey, really quickly, let me tell you about the all-new Dive Talent Network. I've hand-assembled over 100 of the most talented designers and builders that I know, so I can recommend them to my favorite companies. So if you're listening to this and you're open to new opportunities, the Talent Network is anonymous and super low pressure. It's just an easy way to see what's out there without having to post on social media. So if you're interested in joining, or maybe you're looking for your next hire, head to dive.club/talent. Prototyping in Claude also makes it really easy to try out these random and crazy ideas. Sometimes you can one-shot something awesome, and sometimes obviously it just falls on its face, and it's no big deal. You just tell it to undo the last prompt. For example, at one point I thought, what if the percentage numbers in this results view animate up when you load the page? I probably wouldn't have explored something like this in Figma, but with Claude, it's so easy to be like, why the heck not? Let's just try and one-shot it and see if it works. And in this case, it did. And this is going to make it into production because it felt pretty good once I saw it live. Okay, now I want to show you something else. See this character counter animation? I actually explored this a couple weeks earlier in a slightly different context using Figma Make. And for that prototype, it was a totally new component that didn't yet exist in production. And it was easy to bring to life in this isolated environment. So it made a lot of sense to use Figma Make. And while I was experimenting with this poll component using Claude, I had the idea. What if the radio icon turned into that progress component? So I went back into Figma Make and I clicked on the code tab, and then I just found this component, copied all of the code, pasted it into Claude, and told it that I want this to render when you're typing in the input using the exact same size and position as the radio icon, and it worked perfectly. In my opinion, this kind of made the whole design, and it pretty much just came from me clicking around in my prototype. Now, this is all great and whatnot, but I'm also making a huge mess by this point, and I have like 10 different versions. In a single day, I wrote over 10,000 lines of code that was nowhere near production ready. So eventually, I got to the point where I kind of just stepped back and explained the situation to Claude and said that my goal was ultimately to set my engineer up for success. And I asked for advice. Like, where do I go from here? What does a handoff even look like in this world? And here's what I ended up doing. I took the most recent code for both the creator and the reviewer experiences, and I duplicated it into a new branch. And by that, I mean Claude did all of the work. I then had Claude create a new toggle at the top of the page that allows people to go back and forth between these two versions of the experience using a new /handoff route. And this created a single link that captured the most up-to-date state of my thinking. That way I can just send this link out via in-flight and ask people to record themselves playing with the prototype and just dumping their thoughts. This also radically simplified the prototype itself to about 2,000 lines of code. And as I film this video, I kid you not, my engineer literally right now is building on this branch and using my code for all of the UI so that they can just focus on the underlying logic. So before I let you go, here's a few pieces of advice based on my experience prototyping with AI. The first is to establish a shared language with Claude. So take these little icon buttons, for instance. I told Claude, hey, for the rest of our time together, I'm going to refer to these as add-on buttons, which is helpful because then it makes it so much easier for me to make quick changes in the future without having to perfectly describe the element that I'm referring to. But if you're intentional about the specific words that you're going to use, and then you stick to them pretty religiously, you have a lot less moments where you want to pull your hair out because Claude did something to a totally different piece of UI over on a different page. And the second piece of advice is to overuse screenshots. So not only are they great for initial scaffolding, which you'll see people use all the time, I find that they're really helpful to help Claude understand visual fixes. For example, I'll take a screenshot, draw a yellow line across two misaligned pieces of text and say, hey, look closely, these are not aligned, please fix the layout. I find this to be a really effective prompting tactic. Now, the third little piece of advice, which I touched on briefly earlier, is to just overuse voice as your primary input. I'm not going to lie, it kind of feels weird at first, but it really does help. Not only does it speed you up, but I find that you end up communicating and sharing more context when you're speaking than when you're writing. And all of this additional context is helpful for the models. Now, another tip is to get creative with the types of resources and inputs that you feed it. Like all the time, I'll come across best practices on Twitter, and I'll just share them directly with Claude and ask it to scan through my work and find little ways that it can improve the code or tweak the visuals or maybe enhance the quality of an interaction. Take this design engineer, Jacob, for example. I follow him on Twitter. He's got great tips and little articles, and I saw this piece where he talked about little best practices for animating icons. So I just grabbed this code exactly and fed it into Claude. And this was the initial nugget that led me to this hover state for the add-on button where you're clicking to remove something. And obviously, as you can see, I tweaked it substantially to make it my own and have it be a little bit more pronounced. But the key takeaway is be aggressive about saving examples and inspiration and even code snippets, even if you don't fully understand how they work. Because I promise you, Claude will definitely be able to learn something from it. So that's a little bit of my process. And it's important to note, like everybody, I'm just winging it right now. And I'm experimenting and tinkering and trying to figure out what it means to be a designer in today's day and age. But without a doubt, I will go back to the well on this one because the ceiling for prototyping with Claude Code is incredibly high. So hopefully this inspires you a little bit on your own journey.